Good evening, fellow believers and truth seekers. My name is Cassius, bringing you the truth that your so-called government doesn't want you to hear tonight. After several long minutes of research, I have deduced that China and the US have secretly collaborated to not only bring down Malaysian Airlines Flight 370, but are also continuing to strike down support for Hong Kong protests. Let me provide some framework for you. Obviously, China wants hegemony. This has been obviously proven through China's territorial claims over the Senkaku Islands and through China's trade deal with Russia, basically garnering China exclusive rights to Russian natural gas. There only remains one threat to Chinese supremacy in the region, and that is liberal Hong Kong. Let me explain. Chinese Premier Xi Jinping knew that upcoming elections in 2017 in Hong Kong were obviously going to mean the removal of Xi Jinping's lapdog in the region, C.Y. Leung. That couldn't happen. Hong Kong becoming more and more liberal, major threat to Chinese national security and hegemony in the region. So how does China garner support from an increasingly liberal region? I'll tell you. Victimization. China knew that it had to become the sole victim in a major international crisis, say, the downing of a major international airliner carrying a bunch of Chinese passengers. And of course, the US was going to have in on this deal because the US has so much to lose from China losing its hedge in the region. China being one of the US's largest trading partners, so of course, China was able to easily stronghand the US government into cooperating with China in realizing this scheme. So, what essentially happened through a few seconds of research, what I can deduce is that the US's CIA planted hijackers in Malaysian Airliner 370 and took the plane down over the South Indian Ocean, while the Chinese government was responsible for the cleanup of the debris, leaving several artifacts from the plane, several pieces of the plane floating towards Australia and Indonesia as to not garner any sort of suspicion from the international community. Of course, making sure that key evidence made it to the Chinese homeland so that could be dismantled, but we'll get back to that later. Anyway, flash forward to October 2014. Protests are erupting in Hong Kong. Obviously, Xi Jinping didn't expect this, so what's he going to do now? Obviously, China can't be the bad guy in this situation, so China, remaining the good guy, uses their puppet in Hong Kong, C.Y. Leung, to conduct arrests in Hong Kong. And what is he doing with these protesters that he's arrested in Hong Kong? Well, I don't know about you, but the answer to me seems obvious. He's putting them into labor camps where they are disposing of the evidence from the crash of Malaysia Airline 370. And then disposing of the bodies afterwards as to leave absolutely no evidence behind, making China, once and for all, the good guy in this situation, maintaining hedge in Hong Kong. Boom. Problem solved for China. But it's not like the US is innocent in this either. They hijacked the plane. But they didn't stop there. The US had ulterior motives. We could deduce that the US had planted some sort of jihadi Islamic evidence in the debris to wash up in Indonesia and Australia later, so that the international community finds it, and that garners support for military action in Iraq. Boom. It just blew your mind. Now I know what you're thinking. This is a serious problem. You've got to have a solution for this, right? Oh, well, of course Cassius has a solution for this. We've all had we've all heard of Ron Paul, right? Well, we've all heard that he's leaving the presidential race, that he's no longer existing in the realm of politics. Well, we can certainly change that. On November 2nd, midterm elections for Congress will be conducted all around the country, and all we need to do is write in Ron Paul in every single possible seat that you can fill in on your ballot. Ron Paul, Ron Paul, Ron Paul, Ron Paul. Why Ron Paul? Because Ron Paul is George Washington incarnate. He believes in isolationism, taking the US out of the picture. And of course, when we take the US out of the international picture, China's entire scheme collapses. We'll create a giant barrier around the US consisting entirely of Ron Paul. Boom. Solution. My name is Cassius, and I'll see you sometime next week.